Individual brainwashing, programming in both the family unit and the peer group must be engaged and brought under control. Factor 2. Father, the man of the household, must be housebroken to ensure that Junior will grow up with the right social training and attitudes. The advertising media, etc., are engaged to see to it that father to be is pussy whipped before her. By the time he is married, he is taught that he either conforms to the social notch cut out for him or his sex life will be hobbled and his tender companionship will be zero. He is made to see that women demand security more than logical, principled, or honorable behavior. Page 42.
Which is a bunch of crap. That's what they mind control people into wanting, which in turn pussy whip men, I guess. I really don't know about that, but the writer of this, the Rockefellers, they're all guilty. There was enough in here to get somebody on espionage, conspiracy, RICO Act, and when this was brought to the attention of Congress in the Senate, in the Senate, and your local Congress people back in the 80s. Oh, Rockefeller hired somebody to hurry up and write a book and say, oh, it was just fantasy, and this is just like, they didn't call it fake news back then, but referred to people as being hyper delusional or something like that. And it turned into a bestseller and all that. But the thing is, and the truth is, that this is the plan. I mean, you can see it unfold in front of you. And these are the psychopaths, the mentally ill people, the inbred Rothschilds and Rockefellers and Soros that marry their sisters and their cousins that are so void of emotion and having a soul. This is who your leaders are listening to. And unfortunately, the United States, Jew Inc., has complete control over the people. And we have to start somewhere, and we better start now by at least putting up some videos, thousands of them, that say we do not consent. We don't consent to any of it.
Silent weapons for quiet wars. By the time his son must go to war, father, with jelly for a backbone, will slam a gun into Junior's hand before father will risk the censure of his peers, or make a hypocrite of himself by crossing the investment he has in his own personal opinion or self-esteem. Junior will go to war or father will be embarrassed. So Junior will go to war, the true purpose notwithstanding. Factor 3. Mother. The female element of human society is ruled by emotion first and logic second. In the battle between logic and imagination, imagination always wins, fantasy prevails, maternal instinct dominates so that the child comes first and the future comes second. A woman with a newborn baby is too starry-eyed to see a wealthy man's cannon fodder or a cheap source of slave labor. A woman must, however, be conditioned to accept the transition to reality when it comes, or sooner. As the transition becomes more difficult to manage, the family unit must be carefully disintegrated, and state-controlled public education and state-operated child care centers must become more common and legally enforced so as to begin the detachment of the child from the mother and father at an earlier age. Inoculation of behavioral drugs, Ritalin, can speed the transition for the child. Mandatory caution. A woman's impulsive anger can override her fear. An irate woman's power must never be underestimated, and her power over a pussy-whipped husband must likewise never be underestimated. It got women the vote in 1920. Factor IV. Junior. The emotional pressure for self-preservation during the time of war and the self-serving attitude of the common herd that have an option to avoid the battlefield, if Junior can be persuaded to go, is all all of the pressure, finally necessary to propel Johnny off to war. Their quiet blackmailings of him or the threats, no sacrifice, no friends, no glory, no girlfriends. Factor V, sister. And what about Junior's sister? She is given all the good things of life by her father, and taught to expect the same from her future husband, regardless of the price. Factor I, cattle. Those who will not use their brains are no better off than those who have no brains, and so this mindless school of jellyfish, father, mother, son, and daughter, become useful beasts of burden or trainers of the same. This concludes what is available of this document. I. Studies in the Structure of American Economy, 1953, by Wassily Leontief, Director of the Harvard Economic Research Project, International Science Press Inc., White Plains, New York, page 43.
Okay, so if and when all of us human beings decide to stand together, what we have to realize is no matter what they call us, hypocrites, or well, look at you, you're going to send your son off to school and go to work, you're selfish, and all these kind of other names. You have to just stand tall and say, so what, motherfucker? What about you, piece of shit? I mean, because we have been trapped for so long from birth, and our parents too, and a lot of them were immigrants. A lot of them took a chance, a brave chance to come and make a better life. And obviously, a lot of them didn't understand the language, but they did the best they could, thinking they were coming to a free world. Because the manufactured World War II by the Jews gave them no choice. And that's what we're always facing, the no choice factor. And they try to manipulate it. Because we took their free applications, or we took some food stamps when we were down, or we had to take unemployment at a certain time. Well, so what? Our taxes paid for that. And that's the attitude we have to have, is never let a word that they call us, break our spirit or bother us to the point that we put our tail between our legs and run back home. I hope you guys understand this is about survival. We don't have much time. And this concludes the document. And yes, Stop the Crime. I'm sure you heard of Deborah Tavares, who has a lot of these documents. That's not who I got this document from. But it has been out for years. And several YouTubers and people on G Plus pages have published it numerous times. But it's gotten very little attention. And the reason I think it's because of the diagrams in the middle of the report. And what those diagrams are. The diagrams are about the 5G network and how to keep you trapped on that wheel. With all that input, to keep you mind controlled on doing the same thing and not thinking about what your government is doing. Because honestly, look what Trump is doing. He's starving 3 nations to death. People should be outraged. More than just me and a few thousand others. Everyone should be outraged. He's starving people to death. And what did they do to us? Nothing. Thank you for listening.